Grabbing the 3700 from the theater that you guys haven't seen yet. Coming into the room now. Check it out. What's going on, guys? It's Chris, that home theater dude. Got a brand new episode for you today in a new space, in a completely new house. This is one of the first videos that I've actually shot here. I'm really proud to go ahead and get this Denon 3700 out for you guys. This is the brand new 2020 8K model. This hasn't really been seen before. They're the first AVR with 8K in the nation, and there's a couple different features that are going to separate this one from last year's version. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know about the quick specs and the unboxing, and I'm going to do it right after the intro. All right, so let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed. So this is the Denon 3700. It's different from the 3600 that was last year's model in that this is the first 8K AVR, well, I guess the first series, I guess the first company to have a full 8K AVR to come out. So obviously there's no content for it yet. If you guys know, later on in the year that they are releasing these new gaming systems that are going to come available, and those will be 8K ready. So that's just one thing to note. In the box we get, this looks like a brand new remote. This doesn't look like the remote from before, and it feels a little lighter too. So let's go ahead and show you guys that real quick. Obviously you get your little batteries too. You get your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antenna, your AM antenna as well. Quick start guide. This is for your FM. And another cool thing I like, guys, if you guys haven't bought a Denon already, they come with these little labels, which saves you from actually buying a label maker. I'm not sure if you guys are gonna be doing a lot of this stuff, but I, take in and out different connections, make different setups all the time, and it's invaluable to have this stuff, ready and easily visible for you. Over here we have the calibration stand, so if you want to use your Odyssey mic, if you don't have a tripod, you can use this instead. Works out good in a pinch. Obviously a tripod would be better. This unit comes with Odyssey, the 32XT, so you get your Odyssey calibration mic for that, so it's a little more of a premium type of thing. The 2700 doesn't have that. Obviously power cord, not really important. So let's go ahead and get this thing out of here. All right, so this is what everyone wants to see. This is what you've all been waiting for. All right. Let's do the grand reveal. Hopefully this is in focus. Dang. All right, so let's go ahead and show you guys what is different. So in here, I can obviously see that they have bigger heat sinks, and I think this one's like a 1 kilogram more heavy than the last version. So yeah, it's, or half a kilogram. Either ways, it's heavier than the last version. So it's probably in part due to these heat sinks right here. And right here we have a brand new audio section of the transformer. So that thing looks a little more robust than what it did from before. So that's just my previous experience with these things. Obviously Denon Marantz, they have been known in the past to get hot. They're just hot to the touch. Usually they're fine, you don't have an issue with them. The workaround with that is basically just use an Aircom AC Infinity fan for the top of these things. Works fine. It's automatic fan, or just put these things in a well-ventilated area. I wouldn't necessarily just shove this into a corner or into like a AV rack or an entertainment center that's not ventilated. So very important there, because this thing has no fans in it. So it basically just shows you all what's in this unit: Dolby Atmos, IMAX enhanced, DTS, DTSX, high res. It has the Odyssey 32XT, as well as Dolby Vision, and this thing supports, like I was talking about, IMAX enhanced, The biggest feature that this one's gonna have versus the other ones is the 8K ability to it. Looking at the front, it looks different. So this is kind of like a shinier type of appearance to it on front. They got rid of the flip down type of section right here, so you can't flip that down anymore. And then the last thing that I noticed that they got rid of is they got rid of the last HDMI on the front. So they have a USB here, which isn't for charging your cell phone according to the box, but it's for like, you know, updates to do playing some music and playing files and stuff like that. So that's basically what that one's for. But no HDMI on the front. It kind of that kind of bites, because if you guys are gonna be putting this in a rack, then you probably have to, you know, take it out of your rack or move your rack and then basically plug in another one on the back. Or if you have this tucked away into your AV or your entertainment stand, then you basically have to pull this thing out and then, you know, do the exact same thing. You run the risk of knocking any of your connections out, whether it be hardwired or the banana plug. So it is what it is. So what I would recommend doing is basically just adding an additional HDMI back here. Just leave it loose, label it, just tuck it away somewhere nice. So if you ever do need to, you know, add something later onto the system, then you can just do that really, really quick. Or maybe like, you know, someone comes over with like a video game or a laptop presentation, you can just plug that in right there without having to, you know, tear this thing apart. So I'm gonna go show you guys the back of this thing, and then I'm gonna go and walk you guys through it. So it looks pretty daunting, right? So they basically cleaned these things up a whole lot from before. So previously you would see just ports and plugs and, you know, just connections every single place on these things. They basically got rid of all the junk that people don't use, and then they made it a little more simple. So if you guys haven't seen one of the back of these before, very, very simple. Anything with a polka dot is gonna be an output, right? Whoop. Anything with a polka dot is gonna be an output. So you'll see over here, HDMIs are polka dotted, right? This one is in white because it's an input and output, because it does the e-arc, which basically returns. So if you were to turn your TV down, it would send the signal back to here. It would turn this thing down on the volume. So it's kind of an input and an output, but you know, that's neither here nor there. Anything that is not in the polka dots is going to be an input. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you guys the back of this. We're gonna start off left, top left to bottom right. So over here, we're gonna have our Bluetooth and Wi-Fi antenna. And then you have your digital ends, whether it be coax or optical. Optical is gonna be your Toslink, your SPDIF, Sony, Philips, digital interface is what it's called. And then this is basically what an optical is. It's an easy workaround if you want to use sound with this thing and you have, you know, your source already going to your TV already. So basically let's do the optical out on your TV, optical in right here, you're ready to go. Probably the only thing you have to do is maybe just a minute couple adjustments on the lip sync, and then you could do that in the menu. Network setting right here, we have 6 HDMIs on the back, and these are HDCP 2.3 and they're assignable. We have 1 only 8K input, so not a lot of sources for 8K anyway right now, so it's not really that big of a deal if there's just 1. And also at the same time, if you have like the brand new, well, no one has them yet, but if you are gonna have the Xbox and the PlayStation that's gonna come out, you have them both simultaneously, you're probably only gonna need one of them to go directly to the unit itself and then go to your display at one time. So basically what I'm saying is that you can either just do your Xbox directly to the TV, or I guess they don't have projectors yet, and then you can use your sound going into here. And then you can basically just have your PlayStation hooked directly up into here, and then you have the, you know, obviously your HDMI out going to your TV or whatever you guys have. So over here, another one of those Bluetooth Wi-Fi antenna. We have tons of these coax, or not coax, but we have tons of these component ins and outs. Over here we have a trigger, so if you want to control this, whether it be you turn this thing on, it turns on a projector, or it turns on, you know, an amplifier, you can do that as well. You have legacy control for home automation, RS-232, and then we have remote in and out. So if you have a blaster, you guys don't have this thing in the proper, you guys don't have this thing in a line of sight, you can basically control it still with the remote that way, and then you can control other things as well. Here we're gonna have a ground for our record player, and then we're gonna have our zone. So over here on our HDMIs, right? So you have this one going out to your 8K source, or your 8K device, your 8K display. and then you want to have a duplicate going, playing, maybe on a gaming monitor or something for you to record it. Then you have the same source going there. If you want to have maybe like your cable box, let's say you have a cable box in here, and then you want, the football game playing in the patio, that's what you have your 4K Zone 2 for. And then this thing can basically do all that stuff. And then also, if you wanted to, you can have, different music going at the same time. Zone 2 works out with that as well, so that basically goes hand in hand with that. So that's basically what those are for. Obviously, you're gonna have your other inputs down here: cable, satellite, DVD, Blu-ray, game, CD player. I mean, they're all kind of like legacy inputs. And then here's the meat and potatoes right here that people really like. So the reason why this one's so cool is that it's very, very affordable for you to get into a 7.1.4 system, because this is a native, right out of the box, a 9.2 channel, so max a 5.2.4 or a 7.2.2. If you add an external amplifier with these connections right here, right, or any of these that you basically use as a stereo pair, if you have 2 channels of amplification, you run 2 of these RCAs to your amplifier, and then your amplifier uses its little speaker terminals, and that goes out to your speakers. So it takes the load off this thing because it can only process 11 channels. It can't spit out 11 channels, which is kind of confusing because let's look down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So obviously you would think it has 11 connections on the back. You can use all 11 speakers. It doesn't work that way. It basically just has these because they're not assignable. So you're maxed out at, if you're going to use it like this, you're maxed out at those. And if you're not going to use these, you're maxed out at those. So that's basically how it works. And then these are assignable in your menu, so you can basically tell it what you want to do. So if, long story short, add a 2-channel amplifier, and then you can use this for a full 11 channels. So that's the way it goes. Besides that, it's pretty simple on the back. There's not really much else to talk about. You can use anything between a 4 and a 16 ohm speaker, and then you have your power port over here. And then this thing is made in Vietnam. I know that the higher versions, they're made in Japan, so it is what it is. So you guys can save some money jumping into the full 11 channel system by doing this system and also the 4700. But if you guys want native 11 channels, you're probably looking at the brand new Denon 6700. And then that one it's basically kind of the same thing. This one's 9 channels native, but it has 11 channels processing. The 6700 is 11 channels native, has 13 channels processing. So in effect, the new 6700 does almost every single thing that the 8500 does. So it's really valuable to go ahead and jump into that one. But this one doesn't have all the same features as the 6700. I'm basically just saying that it's a good choice for you guys to jump into this one. Pretty affordable to do 11 channels, and a lot of you guys will probably just use these as preamp processors anyway, or if you're on a budget, just use it as your standard home theater solution. So besides that, I think that's pretty much it. Let's talk about some of the main features that this thing is going to have different than the other versions. So obviously I've told you guys about the 8K, right? So the biggest thing with 8K is you have obviously your 8K inputs and outputs, which is great. You also get the ability to test your 8K cables by doing, they have this little app in there on the settings that basically tells you if your cable's good or not. And apparently from the Sound United guys, that's like a very expensive type of process, or a very expensive type of gear. And they basically include it in this unit for very, very cheap for you guys. So that's a really good feature. Additionally, you're gonna have your variable refresh rate with 8K, which basically means that gaming can speed up and slow down on its refresh rate, basically dependent on what's going on in the actual game itself. And then also you have this thing called QMS, which is called quick media switching. That one basically helps reduce the time, or not the lag time. It reduces the downtime in you switching sources. So if you're watching your 8K or you're watching your Apple TV and then you go over to a Blu-ray player, if you've ever done that before, it typically takes maybe 5 or 6 seconds for this thing to figure out what's going on. They basically have this thing called QMS, quick media switching, which helps reduce that time so that you're not sitting there staring at a blank screen and thinking that that your gear is broken. So they also have auto low latency mode, which you fire up your 8K device, or any type of thing that's gonna have the auto low latency mode, and then it'll automatically click on there for you. Low latency basically means the reaction time from the source display to what you're actually doing is, or from the source display to what's actually displayed on the screen is very, very minimal. So that's the reason why they do that. Also, they have this thing called quick frame transport. I have no idea what this thing is. I looked up the definition of it, and it basically does the exact same thing as auto low latency mode. I haven't been able to delineate the difference in between the two because they look almost identical. So it helps with reducing your lag time and also making everything look a little smoother overall. Besides that, this unit is full 9 channels internal, like I was talking about, 11 channels processing, so that's 9 channels by, well, who knows. Denon and Marantz, Sound United, they basically came out and said that these units are, they're going under like a paradigm shift in how they give you guys the specs and ratings on these things. So typically brands don't necessarily give you the full, absolutely the full beans power of these things on the box. They basically tell you how much it is on 2 channels driven, and sometimes it's at, you know, all kinds of different distortion ratings, and then sometimes it's at completely different impedance ratings than you would natively run these things. So let's go ahead and show you guys that right here. So let's see what I'm talking about right here. So this thing's 9 channels. Obviously, not all 9 channels are going to be going exactly at the same time, exactly the same force. So kind of giving it that 9 channels by 105 doesn't make sense anyway. But they're trying to, you know, give you guys more or less what it's going to be overall. And I think they said that it's going to be within 70% of that for just 5 channels. So I mean, they're still not telling you exactly what it is, watts per channel by 9 or by 11 or whatever it is, but they're getting better, guys. So you can't really ding them for that. Another thing that this thing has different is that it has the HDR10 plus. The 3600 didn't have HDR10 plus, which is great. The 3600 didn't have dynamic HDR. This one does have dynamic HDR, so that's another cool little improvement that they did. Last thing that I think that the difference is in between them, I looked at almost every single metric and they're almost identical. The Bluetooth is a little bit different. So instead of being like a 4.0, I think it's a 4.1, or if it was a 4.1, it's a 4.2. Either ways, it's been improved. And besides that, you can cancel out your Apple Play if you need to. And then that basically sums up the differences right here. Well, all right, guys, I think that's going to conclude the unboxing and overview of the Denon 3700, the brand new 2020 8K version, the only company that's actively doing 8K AVRs right now. They have it and they're doing it, and I have no idea how this thing performs. I'm going to go ahead and unbox the 4700, the 6700, and then I'm going to go ahead and test all these things. I'm going to compare the 37 to the 47 to the 67, and then hopefully if I'll be able to get my hands on it, I'll be able to do one of the older versions, the 2019 version, and then I'll be able to see if there's any difference in between the two. Now, logically, I don't think that there's going to be any difference, but that HDMI, the new HDMI with 8K, it has the 48 gigabit full bandwidth. Typically, you're probably going to be seeing more or less around 40 anyway. But I'm thinking, since it's a bottleneck on the older versions, that this is going to give you the full potential. I didn't think that there was going to be any difference in between doing a fiber HDMI cable and a copper HDMI cable, but if you guys want to check out that video, there was definitely a difference, and it doesn't make sense because it's binary and it's digital, so it either works or it doesn't. But if you remove that bottleneck, you help the speed of transfer go through faster. So that means less distortion and higher, I'm not going to say higher resolution, but just basically less distortion. And so same thing with this one. I'm thinking that there could be a difference in video, and I'm thinking there could be a difference in audio. They're not advertising that there is, and I'm not saying that there will be, but I'm thinking that it's a possibility. So besides that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here. If you guys wanna go ahead and buy one of these, I'm gonna go ahead and leave links down in the description. You guys can call up my buddies over at Dream Media. Big shout out to those guys. They actually sent this one out for me to review for you guys too. So if you guys want a really good gear at a really affordable price that you guys don't wanna pay the big box store prices, go ahead and give them a call and they'll help you out. So besides that, make sure you like, favorite, share, and subscribe. That's all I got for you guys today. I'm gonna jump into those other comparisons and reviews and unboxings. I'll do that really quick, and then stay tuned to the channel too, because I have the new theater that's right behind me right here that I'm still building out. So you guys will be able to see that very, very shortly. Now, this video got a little long. Really appreciate you guys for watching. The dog's about to bark at the wife that just came in the door, so I'm gonna catch you guys later. Really appreciate you guys for watching. Called it.